actually got a sick hat collection there. What do you got going for
Yeah, because
hats?
I just got a couple. I mean,
Okay.
I'm one of those people that wear hats every day. It's
Yeah.
just like I don't know. Um, yeah, I usually just rotate between a couple. Like I used to have like 40 of them or something, and then just I was like, why do I have this many?
Yeah.
I mean, same with like shirts, and I pretty much I don't know. I guess I'm like one of those people that I used to have like just bucket loads of merch, and I just got to a point where I just like stopped,
Yeah.
and I don't buy merch
No, not at all.
ever. Yeah, I will once in a while, but it's usually like a hat or like shorts or something. Like the last thing I got was Mortuous shorts.
Yeah, okay.
Um, I personally I'm a physical media person, so I'd rather buy a record or a cassette or something like that because obviously you can run out of space with that too. But that's I don't know. To me, I'd rather have the physical media than a shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I respect the hats though. I mean, I've got about 7 or 8 camo death metal hats now, and so I'm starting to get a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have options, but at a certain point, like this is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, obviously, well, everybody knows now you guys have this new album coming out, and probably when I put this out, I don't know, maybe we'll put it out right around when the album comes out. But third album, I don't even think we said your name, Mike from Noroth.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, when you said this one over, obviously we've talked about Noroth a lot on the podcast, but this one felt like even just better,
I mean,
just
it should
sick.
be. I don't know. I'm one of those, I guess, people where I feel like every album should be better than the last, and if it's not, then why are you writing another record?
Yeah, yeah,
That's why like one of my favorite bands of all time is Bolt Thrower, and I guess the reason they never wrote a record after those ones Loyal is because they felt they couldn't do anything better. So they just scrapped the songs and were like, well, until we can write something better, then we won't. And I feel
yeah.
like that's way more respectable than just like pumping out a new record that is just kind of like either definitely not as good, if not shitty, or just whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. You do get a lot of that. I mean, I think that's dangerous too. Like I always think about that with like career bands, because they kind of have to keep going. Like that's what they're doing. So sometimes it's like I feel like you'd have that little extra bit of I don't know, I guess that's why I do like finding the smaller, up and coming bands sometimes because you don't have to worry about that at all.
Well, yeah, they don't feel like obligated to pump out something new. It's like
They're
it
not on
comes
a
out when it's
cycle.
ready. Yeah.
Not like we got to get it every 2 years. And I mean, hey, Cannibal's doing that, and I mean they're holding up pretty good, it's for me. But a lot of bands do that. They're on those cycles and they got to keep it pumping out. But yeah, no, it's just that's cool. I feel like that's a much better way to look at it if you're just like, I don't know how long it took you guys to write that one, but I'm sure you're not gonna put something out if it was half-ass. You don't need to, right?
No, no. I mean, it took maybe a year. And then once we recorded last summer. So it took another year to come out.
How do you know when it's like you said, you don't want to like put out something that's you want it to be better, you want it to be sick. Like, are you showing that to people to see what they think, or you just know, you nailed it when you do?
Uh, yeah, I don't really show it to people. It's just kind of, I don't know. You get to a certain point where I guess I don't know. You just kind of just know, and then sometimes, I mean, there's songs like on our last album that like I'm like I would never have written it like that. So it's just
Yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of a combination of like yeah, you definitely want to write like the shit you want to as much as you can, but at the same time, like it's like a snapshot in time of like that's what you wanted in that moment.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you guys really killed it on this one. I mean, I played this thing like nonstop. It's just so awesome. Like, if, I mean, it's you guys. It sounds like your other albums and everything, but it just sounds like, no, man, it's just got a little more of everything. I just can't stop. And then you know what I love about it too is that perfect length, man. I don't know how long it is, but I love an album where
It's
you
not
want to
very
listen
long.
again. No, but it's
Yeah,
cool. I like that.
yeah. I mean, that's just my own, like, I don't know. I guess with this album and most things musical I do, I'm very selfish. I do what I want to do and don't like to. I hate album builders. I hate intros that are long. I hate interludes.
Yeah.
Um, because I mostly listen to records and like even cassettes and like fuck, I can't fast forward through this shit.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
and like I don't know, like, and sometimes like I can appreciate certain things, but a lot of it I hate filler.
yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, to me, it's just a waste of time. And it's like, I know a lot of times bands do it to like, oh, got to bump it up to 30 minutes or whatever. And like, I just don't give a shit. Like if I put in a couple of interludes and more intro, like a longer intro, sure, it could have been another couple minutes longer and have been closer to 30 minutes, but I just don't care.
Yeah. No, dude, that's the way to do it. I mean, I've got one buddy and he's always that's like his critique of albums, man. It's like if it's when he sees like a 45-minute runtime on like a especially on something that's extreme, if it's like a death metal album, I mean, unless it's like a Death Doom or a Doom or something like that. But sometimes when you see that 45-minute runtime, it's like, are they gonna be able to pull that off? You know what I mean? Versus like a 30-minute lean, just, in and out. I mean, you can, that's just a more effective sometimes for death metal to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, for death metal for sure, because like it's just, even if you have longer songs, then you can do like even like Blood Incantation style, how they have like longer songs, but they only have 4 albums on the album or 4 songs on
Yeah.
the album. Like you don't need to write an hour long like record. And like for me, like I don't know, it's like a lot of times I'm sure actually a lot of people, like, you're only in the car for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of albums that if they're like 45 minutes to an hour, I don't get to those last songs as much. And even like writing songs, I actually started thinking of that way. Like I put my favorite songs at the beginning of the album, and like, sure, I guess you have to think about like flow or what not, but it's like those are the songs that everyone hears first, and you're going to hear the most. And so like the
Yeah.
last couple songs in the album, unless you're an album like ours that are short and you can go through, you're probably not going to like maybe catch as much.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, if you look at a lot of classic albums, that's how they're structured. You know what I mean? Like you get those first 4 to 5, and I feel like that's what your opinion is anyways on albums. Like you can kind of have a meh album like when it gets to the middle, but if you have a really strong first 4 or 5 songs, like that's kind of what you remember anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
don't know.
mean, I guess there's a whole thing. Like again, if you listen to records, like your A side should be
Yeah.
like that shit, and then B side, you know, I mean, to me, it should be just as good, but like you still have to like choose. So I would, your A side should always be better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, I always think that's interesting though, because a lot of people will talk differently about that. Like, I forget who I was talking to one time, but they were like talking about studying like a pop album to see how that was structured. And they were doing that, for like whatever it was, death metal or whatever it was, and it was like something like having the first 2 songs just have to be the bangers, one in the middle, one in the end. It was something like that. It was like for like I'm sure pop albums nowadays it's much different, but something like, back in the day, like probably from the 80s or something like that is how they would structure them. Just interesting
Sure.
ways to think about albums.
Like putting like, okay, well, you have 3 singles. We have to put one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Different ways to do it. But yeah, no, yeah, you guys nailed it with that. What were you guys, did you want, would you have a big idea of anything like when you were going into it, like we got to make this one more this or that or anything like that or whatever?
I mean, basically, our last drummer, he had a big influence on the last record, and so we like tried a bunch of different things. And I realized basically after that I didn't like a lot of those things.
Mm,
And our new record is a different drummer, and his songwriting and just like the bands and whatnot are more on, I guess, par with what I want. And so the songwriting was just like more focused, and I only did what I wanted. There was no experimenting. It was
yeah.
just like the only all the shit that I wanted, and it was like very specific. I didn't get to like compromise anything. I basically just like did whatever I wanted.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Whereas like, a lot of bands too, like, it's not just one person writing. It's like you have like a group. And the second album, that's why it's so different. A lot of people notice is because our drummer had more influence, or old drummer, excuse me. And like we're still good friends, but we like differ a lot musically.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Whereas like the new record, it's basically exactly what I want as far as like what I wanted us to be.
Yeah.
And also like playing live a lot. Like you kind of learn like, okay, well, I like playing this kind of shit live. This shit I hate playing live. So I just kind of like also, steered my songwriting towards that. But then all at the same time, I refuse now to write a song that I wouldn't want to play live. I mean, sure, there's other songs I would prefer above it, but I would never write a song like, okay, this is an album only song type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I can see that being a big thing. Like, testing it. Did you test a lot of this shit out live to see how it was before you recorded it?
No, we
Okay.
like I said, we recorded everything before we played it. So we recorded live too, which was also a different thing than I had in the past. In the past, it was always like a click track and very, precise. Whereas like this record we recorded live and it has like a more like almost feral energy to it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Was that your idea to try that?
Yeah. Just wanted to have that kind of like energy with it. And I feel like you can tell, at least I can, but
For sure. Now that you're saying that, like comparing the last one to this one, like you just saying that kind of that makes a lot of sense because it does feel like that. It just has a different energy to it for sure.
yeah, the BPMs are a little higher. It just kind of like, it's more aggressive. It's just kind of like rips continuously as opposed to like ebbs and flows like our last record.
Yeah. And saying all this, I love the last record, but I'm just saying this one, it just was like, this is very, very sick. It's like, it felt kind of special. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason I'm saying it like that. I'm loving this one so much more. I like both of the last ones, but yeah.
Thanks.
But that's cool, man. That's cool. And you said, I forget who it was. Was it Greg Wilkinson? You said, worked on it?
Yeah. Well, Greg, mixed it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I like a lot of the shit that he's done, and just coming from this world, like I'm one of those people that I really don't like working with, engineers or whatnot that don't either play death metal or don't understand it. And so when I choose people to like work with now, it's like I want them to like understand what I'm going for, and I guess just being able to get what I want a lot easier. And I guess I just like trust them more than people that like are outside of the genre, even if they like can understand it like sonically. It's like, I don't know, it's just different when you're in the world versus like on the outside and like, oh yeah, we can, I can do this, but I don't know. And like, for example, so we work with Greg on mixing, but we also work with Dan mastering, and he's mastered all our records. He's just, when it comes to death metal, I don't think anyone could do it better. He's been playing death metal for years, and so he just understands it.
Wait, Dan who?
Lowndes, he plays in Cruciamentum.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, he just like, and even if you don't want the same thing as like what he would initially want, he can get you what you want and can just, I don't know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, why would you want someone that doesn't have the experience with it? And then what about you guys are on Carbonized for this one. So how did that one come about?
Well, I guess I've known Chad for a while and fan of what he does, like in his bands and his label. We have other friends that are on his label. He was like, I guess always been a fan of like our drummers, like old punk bands. Because Chad like grew up a punk before he got into death metal. And so our drummer Jeremy used to play in a bunch of like old crust and punk bands, and so he was always like a fan of that shit. So it was just kind of like, oh, you guys have a new record, and he liked, I guess, our old shit too. But it's just kind of like a natural, like, oh, here's our new record. Oh, sick. All right, I'll put that out. All right,
Okay. Yeah.
pretty organic,
Right. Right. That's cool though, man. That label is awesome. I was just listening to that new Funeral Leech one a bunch, and
Oh
that's
yeah, they're killer. The new
yeah.
record I feel like is I don't know, it's about twice as good, but it's definitely better than the last record.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah. I remember the
they
last
lean
one, but
harder into they lean really hard into the doom and like the bleak shit, which I feel like was their strong point.
yeah, man. No, I keep hitting the play on that one, like just keeps creeping back in. But yeah, just the label in general. I think what was the other one that I really loved on there was that thrash band from Texas. I think from
Steel
Texas.
Bearing Hand.
Yes, yeah, yeah. That was
Oh yeah.
I like that one quite a
Yeah,
bit too.
they rip. But unfortunately they like stopped playing, and I always give I guess their bass player shit whenever I talk to him. He plays in Frozen Soul now, and I'm like, dude, fuck
Okay.
Frozen Soul. Steel Bearing Hand's way better. He's like, sorry, yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah, dude. That's right. I forgot about that they stopped or something. Yeah.
yeah.
That
But I
sucks.
mean, that happens with bands. Like, I don't know, even like my other band, like we played a show last week, and it was sick, but we're gonna probably take like a year off. Who
Yeah.
knows? Just
And is that the band that trying to figure out how you say it with the P?
Porphyrion. Yeah.
Porphyrion. Yeah, yeah. Okay. You guys have been doing a lot of shows for that?
No, it
Just
was a
for
side project. So it was just one of those things that we put out a full length, and then we just played like a handful of killer shows. Like I booked like a weekend with our friends last year, and then just played with a couple other random bands that we wanted to play, and we got asked to play a fest in Portland with Oath of Cruelty and Witch Vomit and Oxygen Destroyer, Coffin Rod, a bunch of other of our friends, and just basically played like shows that we wanted to when we could. But the drummer's also in Noroth, and then guitar player is in another band called Rebury that's pretty busy. And then our singer guitar player has a bunch of like solo black metal projects. So it's just kind of like everyone's all over the place, and
yeah.
it's everyone's like side project. So it was just kind of like, we're just going to take a break.
I hear you. I hear you. What where if someone wants to check it out, because what label is that on, or where can they find it?
Oh, it's on Stygian Black Hand, which is Jesse from Impure and Spite. They put out another amazing label, a lot of killer shit. He put out the cassette, which is like sold out unless you can find it in a distro. And then Go Throne in Texas put out our CD, and they're a killer label too. But you can still get our CD from Go Throne.
Okay. Right on. What have you been in a lot of other bands besides Noroth? I guess I don't really know much about your background.
I mean, a handful of just like really shitty like punk bands,
Okay.
like a grind band. That's just it's just like stuff that like I did basically because of friends, or like used to listen to more like punk and
Yeah.
uh yeah.
Just whatever
Nothing
stuff.
exciting, and nothing I would ever like recommend someone to listen to.
Right, right. Okay. So what was that like so growing up, was that like part of it in the background, punk and stuff like that, or was it always death metal, or how'd that go?
Yeah, it kind of like went back and forth. Like I grew up like on like the metal and just things. Like the first albums I got were like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, and then there's like a local like heavy metal radio show here called Metal Shop, and they played shit like Slayer and Sepultura. And
Mm,
then basically from that, like I just went to the record store and bought like Eating Back to Life when I was 15 by Cannibal
okay.
Corpse. So I was like, all right, and this was in the 90s. So it's like, it's really the frame of like being able to find shit is a lot more difficult, like I can't just get on the internet.
Yeah.
And so like between like random friends, like showing me like, oh, here's, Morbid Angels Domination, or, I stumbled across a self-titled Deicide out of like a used CD store. I just like picked it out. I was like, oh, this looks sick,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like later on, I started hanging out with kids that were into punk, and they showed me a bunch of other shit. And then I was like, oh, okay, got into that. But basically, like death metal and or like thrash was like what I grew up on.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I know I'm trying to do that right now with my son. He's like, he's gonna be 5. And I'm like trying to like tease out like, all right, what's he into, you know? And like right now, Metallica has been hitting pretty good for him. So I'm giving him like Master of Puppets, man. Like he's loving that. It's starting to work, you know. Like he had my phone the other day and he was going through videos of like fucking just like mostly Metallica, watching it live, like getting into it. So I'm hoping that kind of like latches on a little bit.
That's
I
like,
didn't
I
have a
mean,
lot of that until later, you know. So
yeah, no, I mean, I would be jealous if I started that young. I mean,
yeah, right.
my dad had pretty bad taste, but my mom like got me into like ZZ Top and Black Sabbath.
Okay.
So like she like my first like cassette tape, I stole like the ZZ Top greatest hits, and
Okay.
like they're still like one of my favorite like bands. But yeah,
Yeah, no, that's cool. It just lays the just guitar music in general, man. I feel like is at least cool. You know what I mean? If you at least start with that, get some kind of background in there.
yeah. I mean, and then like of course then because of hearing that, I'm like okay, like being a fan of Slayer, Metallica, I'm like okay, I need to play guitar. I tried playing drums, I suck at that, so like all right, I'll stick to guitar. I still suck at that honestly, but at least I can like do something with it.
Right. Have you been playing a long time?
I mean, I guess technically since I was like 15, so that's like almost 30 years.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But I'm one of those guitar players which are like not, I guess, as common in. I'm a punk guitar player playing death metal, whereas I
Okay.
feel like most like death metal guitar players like fucking shred, like they fucking rip, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I can do it, but it's I don't know. I was actually we played a show with this band Ossuary, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but they're
Yeah.
really fucking good. But me and the guitar player were joking. It's like, yeah, we're like the worst guitar players in death metal. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we like can play our songs, but it's not
Right.
like we're not impressing anyone, at least
Right.
not with fucking our scales or whatever,
Yeah, but man, that's what's cool about it, you know, because that's the kind of shit I'm usually drawn to. I don't love, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I like some stuff that's overly technical, but at the end of the day, I mean, just having some straight up, just some good riffs that don't have to be that hard to play. I mean, it's like, I mean, that's what's cool. I think I like what people like about the band anyway. So,
Well, I mean, it's like the more like primal aspect of it,
yeah,
I
exactly.
guess.
That's what I was getting at.
Like I liked a lot of technical music, it's
Yeah.
just, but I don't listen to it because it's technical. It's just like, like I see you have a guitar back there. I don't know if you play guitar, but like, or how often you play, but like,
Try
so
to.
like the Cannibal Corpse, like the album, The Bleeding, does not sound that technical, but it is not like a simple album. Like trying to
Right.
learn those songs, I was like, God, this is way more difficult than I expected.
Yeah.
And it's
Let me
not
ask.
as like it is anywhere as crazy as like their newer shit,
Mm,
because they kept on basically. I feel like as their career went on, they just like pushed it and pushed it, and like like Alex Webster and even like their newer guitar player, like obviously Eric Rutan, are just insane. So,
hell yeah.
but like
Yeah.
Tomb of the Mutilated is probably my favorite, and that's
Is it?
like. Yeah, probably more on the primal end. And Tomb of the Mutilated and Bleeding are my two favorites. So,
Right. It's hard to
but
beat.
yeah. I mean, I like all their shit, but if I have to choose, those would be my two.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine like some of that shit is hard to nail. Like the way that they do those, like one groove into another groove, like the way they fit that kind of shit together. Like I love that about their style. Like Cannibal is just so good at like linking these like different grooves and rhythms together, and like they'll turn on a dime so smooth. I feel like that would be kind of hard to nail down when you're trying to learn those songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a combination of like the like grooves, and then like they play a lot of like odd, like diminished chords when you wouldn't necessarily think they would.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty killer. Like especially like I said, like on the Bleeding album, like it's that album is just a riff fest. You know, it's just like riff on top of riff, which is like how I like. I guess it influenced my writing. Like
Mm.
I don't want anything that's like a waste of space. Like if even if it's like the bridge riff, like I write that is like 10 to 20 seconds, and it isn't sick, that I don't want it there. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Lean.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, hell yeah, it's like the Bleeding, man. There's just, it's not much filler going on there. It's just all catchiness and all fucking just solid. I know that's why I love that album. It's definitely my favorite Cannibal album. You just can't, I just love how catchy it is. I love how those songs get stuck in your head. I mean, yeah, it's the perfect one for me. I mean, obviously based on mood, sometimes you're going to reach for something else, but if I had to pick one,
Yeah.
I have to go with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like to me, like, yeah, I feel like riffs and play guitar, like, and listen to death metal, like, I don't understand, like, how you can't, like, love that record. I mean, obviously
Right.
there's people, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, like you said, like Eating Back to Life, that was your first one, man. That was one I never used to listen to much just because it was so different than the rest of their shit. But that one, the past 5 years or so, I've just gotten so much more into. I mean, that's a great one too.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like, that was my introduction. So it's like,
Yeah.
imagine being 15 and sitting on like a curb somewhere and putting in your Discman and like, Sepultura, Beneath the Remains, and like Slayer, like Rain and Blood. Those were sick, but it's like taking it to a different level. And it was familiar enough because like, that record's way more thrashy and it has the like
Hmm.
more like almost like, because it was just out of the 80s, like thrash element, but like way fucking heavier. And like, I was like sitting there reading the lyrics and I was like really into horror movies. I mean, I'm still in, but like, I was just like obsessing over the lyrics and like, I was like, this is the perfect band,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just like every record I got into it, especially like that when I got into them, Vile had just came out, I think, or just like it was like really close to coming out.
Mm.
And Corpse Grinder, that was his first record, and like that record is also one of my favorites. Like
Yeah.
just because it came out like right when I got into them, so it just
That's
I guess
cool.
like
You
I'm
weren't
sure
like, you
everyone
didn't have an
has.
allegiance yet to like Barnes or anything like that. You were just like sick.
No,
Another,
no, it was just like, oh, this is sick. Oh, this is their new record. Oh, they have a new vocalist. Okay, sick. I mean, that's a lot of people think it's weird. Like Domination is like one of my favorite Morbid Angel records, and it's just because that's the first thing I heard.
mm,
You know,
for sure.
uh, so you just like it's like a whatever that attachment is, like your first experience with them. And I do love the record. Obviously, I technically don't like it as much as Covenant or Altars, but like I don't know, it still has like that, like I guess like a piece of me of like it's always going to be attached to that.
Oh yeah, man. You can't beat the nostalgia factor,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, well, that's some of that shit's hard, man. I mean, we might as well jump in a couple of these questions because you're starting to steal some of my album battles and shit with Cannibal.
Okay.
We already got into that. I told you I might bring up some when I did that Necron interview with Luca, and I was like, this is pretty fun, just running through some like I don't know what we kind of call this, but like fucking album battles or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's hard though. But it obviously at the end of the day it doesn't fucking matter what you pick because just kind of like guns at your head, what album, what band would you pick kind of thing. But
Yeah.
so for Cannibal, it sounded like it was Tomb or The Bleeding. If gun was to your
Yeah.
head, which one would you have to go with?
Uh,
Or
I mean,
could
I guess I would do. I mean, as much as I love the Bleeding, I have to go Tomb because that's what I listen to more.
okay.
Yeah, like based on just like repeat listens is Tomb.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna ask you, but it sounds like you already said if you were gonna pick an era, Barnes era or Corpse Grinder era, I'm guessing it's Barnes era then, right?
Well, I mean, that's that. I feel like that's a kind of an unfair question because Barnes only had 4 albums,
That's true.
and like Corpse Grinder has at this point like 10.
That's
So it's
true.
like literally twice as many records. And to me, I love every single record. There's not a bad one. I own every single record. Um, I don't know. I feel like the better question would be to ask like what's your favorite Barnes record, and then your favorite, like, what's the best Corpse Grinder record,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Then what's the favorite Corpse Grinder out record? That's a tough
Gallery.
one. Ooh, that was
Gallery
quick.
Suicide. Yeah, that
Okay.
record, like, it was the second one with him, and it was like right before. I mean, it's still technical, but it's before they got like, I feel
Hyper.
like, really crazy on some of the, like, the following records, which I also love. But like, Gallery is also dark. Um,
Hmm.
fucking, I don't know, sick lyrics. I used to know like half the album memorized, all the lyrics that Corpse
Damn.
Grinder had. Um, I don't know, the artwork. Like, I used to have,
Hmm.
like, I got the long sleeve when it came out. I ordered from fucking Metal Blade in like whatever year that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that record.
We did we did the discography ranking or whatever like a year or two ago, and I remember when going through it, some of those that I hadn't spent as much time with, and that was one of them, and I was like, shit, you just kind of realize like I was kind of sleeping on this one. That
Oh
was
yeah, the
definitely one of them.
songwriting is like insane because it's still like got a lot of those like mid-pace groove riffs, but
Hmm.
just insane, like, ripping, like, just fucking the nasty, like, technical shit that they just like fucking just like shit out. I don't know, man. It's fucking, that record's good. But then they also have like the fucking From Skin to
I was
Liquid.
just
That,
gonna
like,
say it, yeah.
instrumental is insane. Like, I remember, and like the first time I heard that, I was high. I was just like, fuck, this is like,
Yeah, dude.
dude, yeah.
Yeah, it's a unique one. It's like their darkest kind of one, too. It just has a different vibe than kind of all the other ones.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what initially I liked about it, but at the same time, it was also like I was into Cannibal for like, a few years, and then like that came out, so I was just like, it was probably the most stoked I would ever had, like, with like an album coming out, or one of them, like
Hmm.
being into a band and then like having it come out, and you're just like, this fucking, and it still holds up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, flawless discography. I asked a couple of our listeners too. I was like, give me some battle questions. And someone said, how about since we're on the cannibal topic, first sophomore albums, Butchered at Birth or Deicide Legion? They're both Scott Burns, so it's a Scott Burns battle here.
Yeah.
Sophomore, Scott Burns.
That's hard.
Yeah. I thought hard about this today when I wrote this down.
It's funny because Glenn's guests on Butcher too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that. Good point.
yeah, so, yeah. The song "Bomb of the Soul"
Yep,
fucking
yep.
is
Best
crushing.
song on there.
Uh, I don't know, man. I guess I have to go probably Butchered, but like, oh man, yeah, that is just like one of the most. I mean, I guess it's not as underrated now because they did that tour around it, maybe.
Yeah.
Which Noroth, we actually opened for that tour in
Oh,
Seattle,
nice.
and it was killer. Yeah, seeing that album played front to back. I saw it again too because I went to MDF, so I saw that twice front to back, and and then they played, like some of their old classics too on the self-titled and What's Up on the Cross. But like seeing that album front to back was pretty sick. And it's also kind of what you were talking about earlier. It's a short record and it just like rips.
Yeah.
Um,
Speed, perfect length.
yeah, and I'm one of those people also that like I love being able to hear the bass. Like I love audible bass. If you've heard
Hmm.
our new record, obviously, you can hell, like I was like, turn up the fucking bass. Like
Hmm.
I told Greg, I was like, I want the bass to be like almost obnoxious, but like not quite.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's one of the things I like about like Legion is like it's that bass is just like fucking,
Yeah, dude.
it's a lot, but I don't know if that shit like that is like killer. I hate it when records like bury bass.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No. Yeah, yeah. That's I think I'd pick Legion, even though Cannibal I rank higher, like overall, but I think I might go Legion just
Yeah, I mean
because it's so fucking feral, it's so fast. It's just a wild ride, man.
yeah. Though if I have to pick DSI Records, it is technically would be number four.
Okay, rank them then. Let's
Yeah.
hear that.
Well, self-titled again because
Uh-huh.
that was the second record or the second death metal record I got. Um, Once Upon the Cross, like
Mm.
it's just fucking riffs on riffs.
Hmm.
Like plus like it's some of the most like aggressive songwriting. Again, like I don't know if I still know them all. When I was younger, I knew like almost every lyric on that album.
Okay.
Um Shit is like the solos are so fucking good. That being said, Serpents of the Light is one of the most underrated like 90s records.
Hmm.
It's like the solos are so fucking good. His lyrics are fucking classic, but like obviously everyone like hates the production and mix and stuff. It
Hmm.
sounds like kind of
Yeah.
bogus, but I guess for me, like I just grew to love it, like just because I like the music so much that it just kind of like, oh, that's just how that record sounds. Like it's kind of fucking shitty, but whatever. I listen to a lot of shitty recordings. Um, but that album, like I would fucking be stoked to see a fucking tour of that front to back. Like that album is fucking yeah.
It's funny because I've heard a few, not a lot, but a few people that'll kind of ride hard for that one, and I'll periodically throw it on, just being like, well, because I've never fallen in love with it. I don't dislike it, but it's just
Oh
never
yeah.
grabbed me. I'm like,
Yeah.
now you're saying this, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put it on again
Yeah,
tomorrow,
dude,
man.
listen to like the solos, like the fucking and again, I'm not a fucking shredding like guitar player, but the solos are so well written. And his lyrics, like his vocals are general, I mean, they're always recorded extremely aggressively, but also if you get like a chance to like watch live videos during that time, like it's still like they're still so feral and energetic with like the Hoffmans and like the way he like plays bass live. It's pretty sick. Like I don't know, those songs like still are just as good to me as when they came out. Like, but a lot of people they're not part of the first three that most people talk about.
Yeah,
But it's to me, it's just like just as good.
right. Okay, I'll put it back on.
There you go.
I'll try it again.
Uh,
All right, let's see. What should I do next? How about we switch all over here to let's head over to Finland. Are you a fan of Finnish death metal?
I would assume you could tell by our music.
Yeah. Let's do Demolic versus Demigod. D versus D, Nesbith, I guess,
Uh,
versus whatever the Slumber, what's it called? Sullen of Slumber Eye, something like that.
yeah. I mean, that's hard. I mean, I guess I'll go with Dimlik, but um, yeah, that the Demigod Full Lake. I mean, their demos. I mean, both those bands' demos are so fucking good too.
Hmm.
I don't know how much you listen to their demos.
I don't know if I've listened to Demigod much. Demolic for sure. Those demos are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without that, we wouldn't have Cerebral Rot.
Yeah, right.
Like you listen to their demo and their demo, it's like
That's
pretty
funny.
close. But I don't know. Yeah, like that's hard. Demigod is fucking that record is so fucking sick, and that's a lot of the Finnish stuff I like is because it's just riffs, like
Oh yeah.
a lot of mid-pace shit. And I love I like fast death metal too, but I love the like mid-pace like riff filled shit. And there's a lot of good shit for Finland, especially even new bands. There's a lot of new Finnish bands that are just like kind of in that same legacy, just like with a different style, or slightly different vibe.
Yeah, for sure. What are your favorite newer ones from there? If you can think
If
of
I
them.
have to, probably like more Biffic.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
they just
Big
have
time.
that like thick, juicy, like their guitar tones too. Like
Oh man.
they do a fucking killer job.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. Yeah, there's quite a few. I wasn't huge on like the recording sound, but after a while, I kind of like it reminds me of Servants of the Light. It's kind of like thin in a way, but Disguised Malignance.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
They're very like Floridian and the fact that they like have like really fast like ripping tremolo solos, and then they have like these nasty like fucking mid-paced like kind of groove riffs. I think the whole album was written by like their bass player and drummer,
Hmm.
and then they like
Okay.
filled out the rest of the band. but they're killer. They just have the one full length that I think came out last year. But they're kids again. Like, I mean, they're probably like early 20s, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
yeah, definitely check them out if you haven't. Like, you'd probably dig them, especially if you like anything Florida.
Yeah. For sure.
Even though they're from Finland, they have that more Florida sound.
Interesting. Okay. Definitely
Very
check that
like
out.
lots of monstrosity vibes if you like monstrosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like especially like In Dark Purity, like that, the third record, which is my favorite. Yeah, definitely check them out.
Okay. I'll get that one. What about the other two big ones with Adrenaline and Convulse? I guess we got Psychostagia and then World Without God, right?
Yeah.
God?
Yeah, Convulse. Yeah, they're sick. I guess I would probably go with the Dremelic just because it's a little bit more like, I don't know, just like heavier mid pace.
Yeah, it is a little more mid
Convulse is
pace.
still sick.
Well, they're both kind of yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Convulse has got mid pace stuff too, and it's got that energy. I don't know, they both rip. But if I had to pick, I guess a Dremelic. Yeah.
That'd be a tough one. I'd have to go back and like listen to them back to back to make a final decision on that. But yeah, you can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
Those were, I mean, I went with the ones, but at least with a good like full lengths to pick from. But unless there's like some demo that you like more than any of those.
Oh, dude, the Abhorrence demos.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, that shit. It's funny because even when I was younger, I was not too into Amorphous, but that's what the band at least a couple of them like went and created Amorphous, and like I guess the older Amorphous like is definitely better, but then I don't think they would go on Relapse or something. It's way more melodic, and I'm one of those people that like I don't really like melodic. It just doesn't do it for me. I don't listen to death metal for melody, and like there's exceptions. Okay. Like I grew up listening to like At the Gates and Amon Amarth, So Old in Flames too. Like I like that, but I'm real picky with like melody. Like just I don't know. That's not generally what I reach for. So those are just exceptions. Yeah.
Right. I get that. Yeah, I get that. It's just wild to see them coming from that. Yeah, from those demos though to what they became. It's pretty fucking wild. It's like because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many members are the same from Abhorrence, but I feel like it's at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it's 2 or 3.
But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I like melody, but I'm very like melodic death metal specifically. I am with you on that. Like I'm pretty picky. I do need it to sound probably like pretty 90s. But even then it's still tough to get it right, you know what I mean? Nowadays.
I would like I think I've seen like some of, your guys' like picks into sessions, and you definitely like some newer stuff, and I'm like a hard no. I'm like I have no need for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the last band or like the newest band that would play that style would be like Intestine Embolism. That was you listen to either of their records, but those records are sick. But they're cool. More aggressive. They've got a
raw edge. Yeah.
Yeah, they're more aggressive, but then they have like the crazy like melodic shit, But like, yeah, that would be like the only band I've heard like the most current, and then I think their most current record came out in the early 2000s or something, maybe 2001. I can't remember. But
yeah, that's the line though, right around there.
Yeah, it just like I don't know. I don't know. Even with black metal, like I'm not really into the more like melodic black metal. I mean, again, there's exceptions, but if I want black metal, I'd rather listen to like, I don't know, even like Finnish stuff. Like, I guess like some of the Finnish stuff I like that's more punk, like Horna or like Satanic War Master, like stuff like that. Like to me is like, I guess kind of melodic, but it's not like what most people probably, deem melodic. It's more catchy, I guess, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily maybe melodic.
Right. Yeah, not traditionally melodic black metal. You wouldn't probably call it, but yeah, I get it. Got some melody in there. Okay, well then, if you had to pick, just to finish on melodic stuff, if you had to pick between like early at the gates or early in flames, would you have a favorite there?
Uh, um, the thing is, I don't really necessarily. I'm not super strong about either. I
Yeah,
enjoy
so whatever.
both. Um, I guess if I had to, probably In Flames.
Hmm.
The first couple, I still think were pretty hard, but I like even the At the Gates demo is pretty sick. Before they got too melodic for the first couple records, but yeah, I mean all that stuff is good. Just doesn't necessarily like
Yeah, it's
I
not
don't
your
know.
thing.
I guess I honestly stuff that's like has like a little bit of melody. I'd rather listen to like I guess see like the early Unleashed record or like obviously. I mean, I guess people could think would consider like Dismember having a lot of melody, but to me, it's like mostly just like riffs. And I guess later on they had more melody, but
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's do left hand path versus like an ever flowing stream. Dismember.
Oh, not even
Easy.
close. Yeah, ever flowing stream. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I like Entombed, but to me they're like overrated. Like I never like Dismember's way better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough one for me. That one I could do easier like album versus album because I like, I don't know. Like for me, Entombed, I'm usually just gonna pull out Clandestine actually.
Oh, that's my
Um,
favorite too. As much as I like
yeah.
Left Hand Path still rips.
Hmm.
But I guess yeah, kind of saying like I don't know.
Dismember though, I can kind of like, I don't know, they're pretty consistent all the way through, you know what I mean? With some like peaks and things like that for me. For me, like I can listen to most of their stuff and like it pretty much, but the later Entomb stuff. And I'm not huge on like Wolverine Blues. I mean, it's fun once in a while though, but
Yeah, I mean, it's like I liked it more when I was younger. I will say
hmm
that. Like I liked it more
hmm
when I was younger. I don't think it ages well.
right. That's probably
um,
what it is.
but I mean, I guess even with Dismember, like I love their first two records, but like after that, they're too melodic for me. They bring in too
Mm.
much of the like melody, and
Yeah, I guess
that
that's
kills
true.
me. Like they still got some riffs, but it just like it's not aggressive enough, and it's a melody just kills me. I'm just like I'm out.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, hey, I get it. I get it. That's true.
unless it's like insanely dark, which most bands
Mm.
can't pull off. Like it has to be like haunting or bleak or just like I don't know,
Yeah.
like something I guess to me like I think stuff like like Incantation is like dark and melodic, but it's like I guess more haunting. So like it has to be like that. It can't be. It has to
Yeah.
be like minor, chords. It can't be anything like major and like too happy sounding.
That's still funny that you're saying like that's like your melodic stuff that you'll go for, like incantation.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I know a lot of people like the big three from the UK or whatever, but
Mm.
uh, to me, I pretty much only, especially now, like I like the first My Dying Bride record, which I feel like is it's insanely underrated. It's so good, especially a lot of people like Death Doom, and they do it like in such a weird, unique way because it's
What the
like
hell's
they
the name of
often
that album? I'm trying to
oh
think of it.
it's a weird name. I always forget it because I feel like it's like not
I'm gonna
it's
look
like
it
as the
up.
flower withers or
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Because I did a
yeah.
deep dive a while back and I remember thinking the same thing, like, wow, this early shit is awesome.
Yeah, I showed a friend recently, like maybe like a year ago about it because he never heard it. Like he was aware of the existence, but like never heard it. And it kind of
Yeah.
like blew his mind. He was like, it sounds insane because it's just like crazy, like haunting doom, like melancholic, like type doom shit with like kind of thrashy mid-paced death metal,
Right. Right.
I don't
Is
know.
that's the only one from them you said, or you like Turn Loose and all that too, or no?
No, not really. I mean, there's another one. I can't remember the name of it that like I like a lot of the riffs, but again, a lot of times it gets to me because it's just like I just want the like death metal stuff mixed in that they did on that one.
Yeah,
So I just never listen to that.
I get it.
I think it's like their third record or something.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's funny, like even like what the hell the other band, wait a minute. I get confused. Yeah, no, Peaceful 3. I always forget Catatonia and
And if, whatever you say
yeah,
that.
Anathema. I'm always like, which one
Yeah.
is the fucking one? Because they all in my mind, it's like the four of them, you know. And I'm always like
Yeah.
Anathema, but that was the one I thought of too. Like for like their earliest shit. Like I really got into that the last couple of years too. Like I think it's like the EP or the demo. Did you ever get into any of that?
Not really. Like whenever I heard some of that, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But like, I feel like certain things like that kind of just like, it's like timing, whenever like
Yeah.
you hear it. And like, for me, like a lot of stuff I heard that I just didn't speak to me. For some reason, the My Dying Bride first record did.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm like, it's funny too, because I like shit that like blends that in. Like to me, like my favorite record that came out last year was Excarnated Entity. And
Entity.
yeah, they used to be from Seattle, but they basically migrated to Portland. So it's like three-fourths Portland, but it's Dan, who used to be in and Hedonist. I don't know if you ever listened to that band. But they do like little bits and pieces of that sound, but it's way more like aggressive and death metal.
Okay.
But yeah, they put out the best record last year, in my
This cover
opinion.
looks familiar now. I'm looking at it, but I can't think of it. But okay, I'm gonna check that
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
That
it's
was
really
from
fucking
last year.
good. Yeah. And then I also really like the way the last Innumerable Forms full length, the way they did
Mm.
that, where they put a lot of the like gothic, death doom sound into it, but then it's still really aggressive and rips.
Yeah.
So it like I don't get bored of it. It's like the perfect amount.
Hmm. Yeah, for
Also, that
sure.
band is just insane. Like I like their demos and the first full length and like all their shit, but like the last record to me, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know if they'll ever
Incredible.
beat that. Yeah.
It was incredible. And I don't know. I feel like it should have been even more talked about than like it was because it really felt like a standout fucking album. Like I absolutely love that album.
Well, I feel like that band just in general is like extremely underrated as far as like modern bands, like
Yeah.
people, because they're not, I don't know, they don't tour very much and they just don't, I don't know, people just don't people have bad taste. I don't know. Like, cause they came out to the Northwest cause, their guitar player lives out here and they played, I saw them play in Olympia to like 40 people.
Really? Oh God.
Yeah, Seattle show
Come
was
on.
definitely better attended, but like it was just, and then I think Portland was about the same, but it was just like one of those things where I'm like, damn, their riffs are so good, and like, have you seen them live?
No, but if they come, I'm going.
Oh yeah, I mean they don't tour much. I think they
Right.
just do weekends, but yeah, their drummer, I mean, he plays in a million bands, but he's
Yeah.
like so fucking tight. I just saw him last week because he plays an Eternal Champion.
Hmm.
But yeah, a very underrated, like as far as modern bands. But Excarnated Entity is obviously even more underrated. But yeah, you
Yeah.
should check them out.
Oh, for
So,
sure. What's some other new stuff that you've been into?
um,
Like, do you pay attention to quite a bit, or how does that go?
yeah, like I mean, I listen to like 99% death metal. So, like,
Okay.
uh, I mean, there's so much good stuff. Like even in the last like month. Oh man, I'm just trying to think. Like, what have I just got?
Yeah, because I
I
this
did
year I've
this like
slacked a little, so I'm curious on some, to write some stuff down.
well, I mean, New Witch Vomit.
Mm-hmm.
That record to me is probably their best. I mean, even though it's like a slight change in style because they have a lot more like black metal, like dissection
Yeah.
type riffing, but they blend it with like their like style of death metal. Like that album is definitely going to be the one of the best of the year. Engulfed.
I've been into that.
Yeah, that record, like that's another band that'll be underrated because they don't tour. They're from what I think Turkey.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's just people won't care, but it's like insane. Like
It's
Uh,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah, the new, I guess I don't know how to pronounce their name, but Hirasiarch from New Zealand.
Yeah. Wait, I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, I wouldn't even try to pronounce it.
But yeah, like Edifice or whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's got the guy like beating the guy with a rock.
Yeah, I'm looking for it
um,
here.
their last
Uh-huh.
record was killer too, but this new one I feel like is more like just more pummeling. They have like these crazy like almost like marching band type drum beats, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's savage.
Okay.
Really into. I like the new Necrot rips. I like the new Brodekin. Like
I don't think I know that
that
one.
that album. It's they're a brutal death metal band.
Okay.
They put out 3 albums in like the early 2000s. Like it's like punk brutal death metal, if that makes sense. So it's like two
Mm.
minute songs. The new album has a couple longer ones where they like experiment or whatever, but like it's still like punishing, but it's like pretty unique for brutal death metal. And like I used to be really into brutal death metal in like the early mid 2000s,
Okay.
like really into
Like
Deeds of
devourment
Flesh,
and shit.
Discourse, Devourment.
Okay.
But honestly, I feel like one of the most like records that'll probably get slept on because they just broke up is Apparition.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a cool album. Different.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why I like it. They kind of blend a bunch of things, and they don't really sound like anyone. Um,
No.
they have like a weird mix of like death doom, but then they have like straight up like I wouldn't call them like death riffs, but like they're riffs like you would just say they're out there, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like we toured with them last year, and like I was always bugging them to play more new songs. But like their last record is really good, but like the
Yeah.
newer shit is like on another level.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just cool. It's cool to hear something different like that. Like I put it on, I was just kept being like, I'd stop. Like, what? Like what the fuck are they doing there?
yeah, they
Yeah.
and they do a fucking killer job too. Or they would like do this weird dark, like like somewhat typical death metal riff, and then like spin it to this weird like space riff where you're like, what the fuck, Um, yeah, like
Yeah.
that record, yeah. And then there's a lot of shit that's coming out in the next couple of weeks, like the new Adversarials coming out. Um, which I don't know if you like dark ripping death metal. Like to me, they're like one of the best.
Adversarial?
Yeah, Adversarial. They're from Eastern Canada, I think Montreal,
Yeah,
but
I don't think I've listened.
oh, they're like, man, check out the new record because I think it comes out in like 2 weeks or something. But the
Okay.
last album is insane. I saw them maybe like 5 or 6 years ago with a Dead Congregation, and it was just like, damn, like Dead Congregation is one of my favorite bands, but like, I don't know, they're definitely underrated because again, they don't really tour, but
Right, right.
they rip. Yeah, man, yeah. There's so much good. Oh, the new Mortal Wound is about to come out. Have you ever listened to that band?
Yes, yes. I didn't know there was a new one coming. That's cool.
Yeah, it comes out in like 2 weeks or something. It's on Dark Descent as well.
Okay.
But it's just like mid-paced death metal, but like just like riffs.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's killer. Other than that, like uh, one of my favorite records this year is the new Crucifier. I don't know if you fuck with that band.
I don't think so.
They're on Iron Bonehead, I think, put it out,
Okay.
and it's like,
Crucifier. Nope,
yeah,
haven't heard this. Haven't heard either of these.
it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's dark death metal, but then they have these like ripping, like almost heavy metal solos.
Okay.
It's
That's
yeah,
cool.
it's dark. Like it's like I don't know. It's like my favorite kind of death metal, basically, where it's like mid pace but dark, and like
Dark.
there's no rules. Like it doesn't fit into like its own thing, but
Yeah.
it's fucking sick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how some of those, like you said, like if these bands, if they're not touring hard, it's like they can't get slept on, especially now when there's so much coming out. It's like, it's real like you got to work fucking hard to, you got to be a band out there like the Gatecreepers of the world and the Undeaths, who are just like out there pounding it like all the time, or else it's like you kind of, it's,
Yeah, but I mean, like
even
most
if the
bands,
album's
like
amazing.
Yeah, most bands can't afford to really like tour like that, you know. So it's like
Hmm.
usually you're doing like weekends or like playing fast. Like even us, like we're doing a record release tour next weekend or next month, where we're going around the Northwest with Frenolith.
Nice.
Um, and then we're doing California in July with this band Vile Rights,
Okay.
which
Yep.
I feel
Yep.
like you might be into. They have a new album that's going to come out this summer, and
I
then
know
we're
I've heard something from
playing,
them.
doing a tour in Japan this fall with Grave Infestation, which they
Okay.
have a new album coming out at the end of the year or sometime on Dark Descent, but
Yeah.
I don't even think they know when it's coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
you're right. There's so much good music coming out, which is sick, but it's like sometimes it's like overwhelming. You're like, there's so much shit.
Dude. Yeah. I mean,
Like, good
you didn't
problem to
even.
have, I guess.
No, it is. It is. It's hard to like. I'll just you'll hear something good, and man, it's like sometimes you just forget when if you're trying to keep up with all the other stuff coming out. I try to keep a good list. I'll make a playlist or something, or make a list of all the good stuff just so I come back to it. But
Yeah.
I just been getting burnt out lately, like checking stuff out, but then it's not up to par. So I'm just like, I'll put something on. It's like, yeah,
Well,
not
yeah,
that
because you
great.
feel like you're like wasting your time. Like
Exactly. Yeah. So
for
that's why
me,
when
like
I,
I was just gonna say, if the song doesn't catch me literally in the first 2 minutes, like sometimes if it's like decent enough, I'll check another song and listen to another 2 minutes. But then after that, like I'm just like, you didn't get me in the first 2 minutes on two songs. Like,
yeah,
nah, I
I
don't need
know.
to listen.
And I'm just at the point where if it's like mediocre, there's just a lot of stuff, man. It's, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
but
no,
that's why
yeah,
I was
there,
super stoked on your album because like when you sent that, I was just like in a rut of like I just hadn't
yeah,
heard a lot of good, especially death metal that I've just loved. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, not that there hasn't been it. There's like you said, you
yeah,
listed off some good ones, but yeah, sometimes an album like that too, though, like it'll kind of like invigorate you. Like for me, it's like, oh shit, okay, then you get that kind of like you gotta like feed the addiction more. Like, all right, now I'm ready to like
yeah,
like find some more.
yeah. I feel like I said, like with the new adversarial, new mortal wound, those are both coming out in the next couple weeks, and like
Yeah.
I feel like there's some other shit that I heard that was coming out. Well, like the new if you like the more like punk autopsy style death metal, Grave Infestation,
Hmm.
they're sick. Their new album comes out later this year. But yeah, I'm sure I mean, we're not even halfway through the year,
Right.
so I'm sure there'll be a bunch more shit. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, it's not even we're not yeah, we're definitely not even to the barely into the summer. Still early on. Half the good stuff comes out at the end, so
yeah,
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. I'm my ear is gonna be open. It's just like, it's been a weird rut for me, but I'll get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the first of the year can be weird. Like, I know there was like a couple albums I liked in January and February, but March and April is when it started to like oh shit, there's a lot.
Yeah. I also just wrote down I listened to the single for the you mentioned them earlier, the Oxygen Destroyer. I
Oh
They just put out
yeah,
a
Oxygen Destroyer
single
rips.
and it was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, no, like they do a killer job at like what they do. Like they're playing like thrashy like death metal, like
Hmm.
kind of like Vader style type shit. That like they just do a great job. And then like it's I don't know if you like the subject matter. Like they just only sing about kaiju. It's pretty sick.
I never looked into it, but
Yeah, it's all like Godzilla world themed.
okay,
Um,
right. Like the covers, right?
yeah, I'm friends with the singer guitar player Jordan, and like we just like will nerd out about like movies and stuff. And I'm more on the horror side, and he's definitely more on like kaiju and some of the more like odd like fantasy related stuff. But we do have like a lot of like similarities in some movies, and if
Yeah,
anything, like I respect his opinion. So sometimes I'll just like check out shit,
right.
and same vice versa. But yeah, no, they do a killer job. I mean, especially like if you want faster death metal, there is actually quite a few of like new records or bands that are doing more of that now, which is sick.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I dug it. Like one of my friends had said it kind of reminded me of like Absu a little bit because it was just so fucking fast and yeah, dark. But
I was gonna say, did you like the newest Ascended Dead?
Yes, big time.
Yeah,
That was a great one.
yeah. They were I saw them last week, and it was just like their drummer Charlie. He's in like a bunch of bands, and like he's the touring drummer for Incantation,
Okay.
and he's pretty young, and he's just like one of those like drummers that you're just like, damn.
That's cool. I'm sure that live that would be awesome. If they could pull that sound off at least, you
Oh
know.
yeah, they know they do. They're fucking killer live. In fact, I mean, you're around Detroit.
Yep.
I think they might be like coming through Detroit this week.
Really? Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
I
check.
know I know they're on like a US tour, and like I know they just played like Montana and like maybe like somewhere in the Midwest like the last couple nights, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
they're
that
worth
would be
checking
very
out
cool
if you
live.
can.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. All right, let's finish on this then. You mentioned horror. You got any good recommendations, or is it mostly old stuff, or what have you been watching?
I
Because
mean,
I love horror, but I don't always keep up.
so I don't know. I guess most of the stuff I watch is like I'm digging for old stuff that I haven't seen, or like I'll rewatch classics. But there's so
Yeah.
much out there. Um,
What were
I don't
any
know.
old ones that you found that you haven't seen? Because I mean, that's my favorite.
I mean, yeah, there's a couple recently that I watched that are just like I don't know. Also, like my standards or like
Okay.
what appeals to me is like probably not most people.
Yeah.
Recently I watched The Howling 4.
Okay. I don't know that.
Ridiculous. I mean, if you watch the first couple of Howlings, those are good
Okay.
too.
I got you. I thought you meant like the how. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, part four.
Okay.
Um, and then this movie called Progeny. It's a Brian Hughes film. He's the guy that like worked on like the Reanimator and like From Beyond.
Okay.
Uh, but like I think he directed this one, and it's like a weird like alien abduction movie. It's actually more of like there's more drama in it than I expected. But it's a weird alien abduction movie. I'll just put it
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I don't know, man. I guess I watched like so much shit that it's like hard to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like modern movies, they just I don't like the way they're. It's like a lot of times like with modern like big bands, I hate production like shiny
Hmm.
compressed
Hmm.
production values on albums. Like there'll be an album where I'll listen to them like I would probably like this if it wasn't such a big production. If it was like a
Yeah, I feel
demo,
you.
I would probably
Yeah.
dig it.
Yeah.
So
Same
like
goes for
that kills
movies.
it for me with yeah, it just most modern production movies. I'll watch a lot of the newer ones, but it just the only one like the best movie that came out last year, for example. Oh, I think I'm gonna butcher the name, but it's Where Evil Lurks.
Okay. I've heard of it, but I haven't
Have
seen
you
it.
seen that?
Pretty
Oh,
good.
that movie's the best movie that came out last year.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna
Yeah,
write that down. Because I mean,
it's
I like new stuff. I just don't, like you said, it's hard to find it. There'll be a handful of them, that nail
yeah.
it. But
No, that one is like I'm like shocked at how good it is.
mm,
Like,
okay.
yeah, Where Evil Lurks. I mean, like some of the like gore and the violence in there, you're just like, because I'm a sicko with that shit, and so it like it's some of you're just like, ah, yeah, that's good. They push the boundaries on a couple things where I'm like, all right, respect.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
dig it. And it's just a more unique story. It's like I guess you would call it a possession movie.
Okay.
But it's not what you would think at all. So yeah, you should definitely watch it. It's killer.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What's that one that's my brother just sent me a trailer for this one that's coming out because he likes a lot of the new stuff. Have you seen the trailer for that one where it's like basically it looks like a Friday the 13th, but it's from the eyes of like the killer, like the whole thing. Have you seen trailer for that?
I haven't.
Okay.
It's like a newer. Is it like about to be released in theaters or
Yeah, I don't think
something?
it's out yet. But it's like, I mean, essentially it looks, and that's probably how they sold it. Like it's at a camp. I mean, it looks like a Jason kind of a guy, but supposedly it's all from the viewpoint of the kill. Like, I don't know if you ever are like watching just some other people unless it's through his eyes. So I was like, okay,
Sure.
interesting concept. I could at least, maybe check it out. I don't know if it's gonna be good, but
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times movies like that I'll check out. Like I checked out a bunch of the ones that came out in the last few years. Not they were good, but I still like watched them and it's just like, oh,
hmm
okay. Um, Stuff like, like X or Pearl or um, I don't know, even like Cocaine Bear, like anything that comes out, like I'll probably watch it.
uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
but
I liked X
yeah,
decently.
see, I was just like,
That was decent.
what? Yeah, I'm like, it wasn't horrible, but just
Yeah.
I have like it's weird as much as I say I had low standards. I have like like especially for newer movies, you're like you've seen all this shit that's come before you. Like needs to be. That's why I like Where Evil Lurks because it's unique, but it still pushes things. Like it still made you like. I mean, for me, like I'm so easily desensitized
Yeah.
that like like stuff like Serbian film is like, it's not that extreme.
Right.
Um, so I don't know, for me to be like, oh shit, like on a couple of the scenes, it was like, okay, all right, they did something. Because like, to me, like, I don't know, like with Death Metal in general, it's like, I like it because it's like a feral, it has like primal instinct reaction, whereas like horror
hmm
movies, I feel like it should be the same,
For
and
sure.
there should be like a primal reaction to it. And like most movies, it's just like, it's too clean, it's too predictable. Like
Yeah. Sterilized.
nothing about that to me is primal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
No,
yeah,
I know. Yeah, there's once in a while, there's the more underground ones that you might find or whatever. It can kind of retain that a little bit, but I hear you. There's not a lot of that comes out that's just like it's gonna blow me away. But
and like I mean, and also like it can be entertaining. It doesn't have to be amazing, but
Mhm.
like a lot of times, like it's just like I'm also have really bad ADHD, I guess. So it's just like like it's on some people like I have friends that are like, oh, it's really like artsy and weird, and like I used to like that shit more when I was younger, and now I don't care at all if it's artsy and weird. I'm like,
Yeah,
ah.
yeah,
Um, but I feel like honestly, most stuff that's newer that is like good is coming from other countries. Like the
okay,
US, just like no one here is doing anything that's interesting to me. Everything is
yeah,
from like Where Evil Lurks, like that's not US. It's like I have no idea. I can't remember what country that's from, but
okay.
or like did you watch oh my god, I think it was the year before, maybe 2022. My favorite the movie it was the I'm blanking on the name, but it was like a zombie movie, like a dystopian zombie movie, but like when they got infected, they also like basically it turned on the like testosterone hormone. So they instead of like just killing, they'd be killing and raping.
No, I do not think I've seen that.
It was like gnarly.
Just taking it
Uh,
to another level.
yeah, but like this, like the gore was really good, and just like it was really fast paced. It's like kind of like it reminded me somewhat of the 28, you know, days
Oh,
later type
yeah,
style, where it's like it's really
fast.
fast. Like you're just following these like two people as they like are trying to escape this dystopian thing that's like taken over. Um,
Okay.
so it's one of those movies that out of the gate, like within the first 5 minutes, it's like going. It doesn't take long to pick up. Like there's no,
That's
it
cool.
doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't take much to ramp up.
Yeah, send me the name if you remember it.
Yeah, I'll have to like. I'm horrible with names, and so I'll have to like look that up. I don't know why I can't remember it. It's something like really simple. Um, it's like I think it may be even one word.
Okay. Did you, I
Yeah,
mean, everybody knows about it, but like, did you, like, what about like Hereditary? Like, that was one that seemed like most people liked that was newer. I mean, I liked it a lot.
yeah, it was okay. It had like a good like kind of like almost like David Lynch vibe, where it was like kind of off.
hmm
Um, I definitely liked it a lot more than Midsummer. Midsummer to me was just like Wicker Man that was modern, which is
For
again
sure.
isn't bad. It just was like I watched that. All
Yeah.
right, never need to see it again.
I liked it, but I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, it's like a remake without being a remake. Yeah.
Yeah. And like again, like there's some cool scenes and stuff, but
Hmm.
like Hereditary was a lot more like originals. Like, oh, okay, so maybe this director is like he was going to have like a trail of like fucked up original movies, and then like, oh no, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And I just don't, ever since having a kid, man, I just don't watch as much. It's like my time's not there. Like I go to bed earlier. I get up earlier and stuff. So
sure.
I need sometimes, like I'll have a few people that'll send me some good stuff, but I don't seek it out as much. So I love hearing about whether it's new stuff or like the old stuff that you just don't know about. I mean, I really like that even better. If I could find some gems that I don't know about or that I slept on,
Well,
I'm
like
always
like I
into that.
said, I feel like especially if you grew up like watching horror, like the most untapped resources for me have been just like other countries, like Korean,
Mm,
Chinese, Japanese. Um, yeah, there's even
yeah,
like
that makes sense.
A Mexican movie. I think it was called like The Skull. That did
Okay.
you see that one?
No, no.
Came out maybe 2 years ago. Um, wasn't like the best as far as like pacing or like writing, but had some like gnarly kills where I was like, okay, they like this. I'm really into practical effects, so they had a lot of like really good
Nice.
practical effects, and this was kind of like off and weird. Again, it was kind of like a weird, like somewhat of a possession movie, but not. I don't know. You should
Okay.
check that out. It's just
The
like
skull.
the skull. I think it's from Mexico or somewhere in Central America, maybe. But yeah, I mean, you could find it. It came out in the last couple of years, but that one's just like kind of off.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, other countries like anywhere but the states.
Right, right. Yeah, good.
um,
That's cool.
um, yeah, I mean, there'll be like periods where like I haven't watched like an English speaking movie in a while because everything I'm watching is like subtitled.
Yeah. You got to
Um,
go where the good stuff is.
yeah,
Cool, man. Cool.
but yeah, I'll send you whenever I remember what that movie was, which will probably be.
Yeah.
I'll just like have to look it up.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'll write it down. I've got a list. I've got a long list of fucking horror movies to watch, but you know what, too, I kind of save them. I'll watch a lot of them in the fall. Like once August, September, once that fall starts coming, that's when I'll start binging them just like 24/7.
Oh,
So
you
then I'll
don't
take a
get that
break.
like springtime feeling to like.
I don't, man. Once the heat though comes, like that's when I usually start, and then it just ramps up from there. So I'll
Okay,
keep the list going for the rest of the year.
all right.
But cool, man. All right. I'll probably leave it there so we don't go for too long. But what's the name of the album? Did we say it? I don't think we did.
Sacrificial Solace.
Hell yeah. Everybody
Yeah,
can check that out. Like I said, well, this will probably come out right around then, so maybe it'll be out
yeah.
already. But what's the
June
date?
7th.
June 7th.
Yeah,
Sick. And you said a little bit of touring with
yeah.
Frenolith.
If you're on the West Coast, like we hit most areas between the tour with Frenolith, or like the California tour with Bile Rights.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, next year it would be cool to get out to the East Coast, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll
Well,
make it to Detroit area, but you
yeah.
never know. You know.
Yeah. I hope.
Uh,
I've got one friend in Seattle. He said he's seen you guys a couple times and it's always been amazing. So
all right.
love to see it.
Hopefully we will disappoint people at least a little bit.
Right, right. But cool, man. All right, appreciate it. And yeah, good luck with it coming out and everything, man.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, dude. Talk to you later.